friends. Hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello. Today's video is definitely going to be a little bit more ranty, and I know you guys like the rants, so I won't apologize for it, but it's a little bit more ranty, and it's kind of, first of all, I want to just state first and foremost, I got all of the information about this. Like, the only reason I know what's going on is because of Def Noodles, who has a YouTube channel. He's literally one of my favorite commentary drama channels, whatever you want to call it. Love him, and I follow him on Twitter. And if you don't follow him on Twitter but you want to stay up to date on everything going on ever on YouTube, I would follow him on Twitter, because he constantly, I don't think he sleeps, I don't know how he does it, but he constantly has all of the information on these types of situations, and I would not have found out about this without him talking about it. So big shout out to him. My Twitter account has basically become a Def Noodles reaction channel, because I just react to what he says. So we have a lot to talk about today. So today is kind of going to be a follow-up to a video I did a couple of weeks ago, which was called Let's Talk About Influencer Entitlement, something like that. And I felt like a follow-up was necessary. I don't normally make more than one video about topics unless they're like really big situations going on, but I did feel like this topic is important to like hit the point home on, especially since new information has come out, new things have come out, so I do want to talk about it. So if you don't know, there have been a plethora of young, particularly TikTok stars, going to a bunch of parties in Hollywood and LA right now. And I want to preface this whole video by saying I'm going to be talking about COVID and the dangers of like going to parties and things like that, but I do think it's important to note, and something I don't think I made clear enough in my last video, it is important to note that there are places in the United States where having small gatherings or doing smaller events or, you know, seeing your friends, it is becoming okay because of the number of cases. So there are certain influencers who live in places, I know for like some of my friends, there are certain influencers who live in places where the case numbers are incredibly low, and according to their county or state guidelines, it is okay for them to be in a small gathering or something like that. Nobody should be going to ragers inside house parties right now. Nobody should really be going to bars. I know some states are allowing that, but there are places where county and states are allowing certain things, and the big reason I have the problem with the people in Los Angeles right now is because their state, county, local, all of their legislators are basically like, please stop doing this, and they won't stop doing it. So that's why I'm frustrated. I want to make that super clear, because I know that everywhere is different, everybody's situation is different, but particularly in Los Angeles, we're very well aware that these people are breaking the guidelines and cases are spiking actively. So I do think there's a difference. I just want to make that clear too. So basically, since I made my last video about the big parties, the one that Jake Paul threw, and then there was one that the Hype House, the TikTok house threw. Oh my God, I'm getting too old for this stuff. The TikTok, I like TikTok. I've talked about this before. I enjoy TikTok for me and like the content that I like, but the teens of TikTok, I'm too old to do it. But I don't know who any of them are. Like I can't. But the Hype House, which I do know about, there's also all these other houses that I don't really know about, but the Hype House had this big party and a ton of influencers went. I mean, like Charlie and Dixie D'Amelio, James Charles, Emma Chamberlain, Tana Mojo, Peter Dragon, like all of these influencers and all of these TikTokers were at this big party, and it was really, really called out on social media. We had a couple of people apologize. James Charles and Tana Mojo did release apologies, and I want to talk about that aspect of it first, because my big gripe, you could call it, in my last video, my biggest gripe was the fact that these people cumulatively have like 500 million followers, and it's just infuriating to watch them have that high of a level of influence and not utilize it in a positive way, not promote wearing masks, not promote social distancing, not promote all of these things. That's what was so frustrating to me, was it's not just about you when you have a platform that big, it's about you and what you're doing with that influence, and that was the problem I had. So since then, James Charles and Tana Mojo have made apologies, both of them respectively. They're basically the same apology, just like, sorry, shouldn't have done it, don't be stupid like me, you know, I understand I have influence, whatever. My thing about this was those apologies were pretty heavily criticized as being, you know, fake or being not real, and, you know, they're gonna just keep doing these things privately, but they're not gonna post it. And initially, I really praised those apologies and I appreciated them because I was like, you know what? Like, at least this is something. At least you're telling your young fan base not to be going out if you're not allowed to, not to be going to parties, not to be hanging out in close proximity with your friends. I was like, you know what? This is a positive. Even if it's kind of bullshit, even if they're not actually sorry, at least they're telling their young following the right message. Like, at least the right message is being sent. And since then, we have seen a bit of a decrease with those influencers in regards to kind of what they're doing out and about. So like Tana Mojo is no longer posting on her story about a different party she's going to every night. So we're seeing at least a slight change. So even if these people are still going out and doing these things, they're not actively posting about it. So I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that they took what people were saying about them and they actually are trying to at least be somewhat of a positive influence, right? My bigger problem is that what this has turned into, what this whole partying in LA thing has turned into, yeah, especially TikTok, these young TikTokers, what they have turned it into is an opportunity to be talked about. Because I cannot think of any other reason than wanting to be talked about or wanting to be discussed by the media or by drama channels or whatever. I can't think of another reason you would post about being at one of those parties after what happened 2 weeks ago. I can't think of a reason. So now it's kind of a double whammy because it's not just you're partying, you know, because you want to go out and have fun and you're bored of being home, I guess. It's not that. Now you want to go out and party, you want to disregard the lives of other people, and you want to do it just to get a little bit of clout, like a second of clout. Okay, so now we have this article. This article, and I will link it down below, was released by the New York Times, and it's called Why Influencers Won't Stop Partying Anytime Soon. And it quotes a lot of different people, but most notably who it quotes is Thomas, I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Petterol, I don't know, from the Hype House. He's the founder of the Hype House. I've talked about him once before in a video because he had some drama with this girl named Daisy Quiche, and I've talked about how like he swindled, I don't know, it's this whole thing. But I've known of this person's existence slightly because of that situation, and I knew that he was one of the people who started this Hype House, which is like the TikTok creator house. By the way, can I just say, creator houses are so weird to me. Like, they're so, I don't know how to put it, they're so weird to me. I can't imagine, I need alone time. I cannot imagine living with 25 other people and just constantly your whole day is making 15-second to 1-minute videos with people that you really don't even like. You just profit off of each other. I can't even fathom how toxic living in that situation is. Like, I really can't. We already have kind of seen it with Team 10, how everything blew up with that and how people have come out and talked about how toxic it was. And I feel like we're just repeating that, but even like 10 times worse because these TikTok houses seem 10 times more toxic, if you can believe that. So this guy, the founder of the Hype House, talked to the New York Times and released a quote. Why these people don't have just PR people is beyond me, but he released a quote to the New York Times that basically said, the parties will not be stopping. I can read you the direct quote actually. He said, our jobs are to entertain people. We live with groups of people and we are all intertwined for work. We can't put our entire lives on hold for a year and not make any money. The context of this told by the New York Times was that he was saying the parties were not going to be stopping because the parties were made to entertain people. And this kid, Thomas, is saying that his quote was taken out of context and that's not what he meant. He meant that they all live together. Regardless, it's a dumb thing to say. I think the phrase, you can't just expect us to not work and not make money for a year when you are an online content creator, just sends a little tone deaf during the global pandemic. Here's my problem with this whole thing with this kid, because I'm an online content creator. I'm not anywhere near the level of like clout that they have. So I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm in their position. I don't know what it's like to have millions of followers. I hope I never do. It sounds terrifying, but I do have a level of understanding of working from home during the pandemic because that's what I and thousands of other content creators have been doing. You can't do this rhetoric of, well, we have to be partying, we have to be hanging out with other people, we have to be doing all of these things to make money. First of all, if you have upwards of 1 million followers on any social media platform, you could make 6 figures, maybe even more a year just by doing brand deals. How bad bad of a manager are you, Thomas, that you can't just have your little hype house kids hold up a toothbrush, and it'd be like, hey, go buy this and make 6 figures. It's very easy when you have that level of following to make money doing sponsored content. Now, does sponsored content come with some other issues of like ethics, and you have to make sure you're not promoting brands that are scams, a la, you know, the Kenza Cosmetics thing? Of course there is. But it's not difficult to find legitimate sponsorships when you have that level of clout. It's really not that hard, especially for a lot of these kids, because they really pride themselves on being somewhat family friendly and somewhat kind of, you know, made for kid content. Brands eat that up. They could make it. It is preposterous to me that a man who probably made upwards of $1 million since his TikTok career started is gonna sit there and say we can't make money for a year. Oh, do you mean like the millions of Americans that got fired from their jobs and are on unemployment? This is my problem. It's not this kid's fault. It's not the hype house's fault that the pandemic is happening. It's not their fault that they are able to make this level of money during a pandemic. It's not content creators' fault. It's not anybody's fault. However, you have to realize how absolutely tone deaf you sound when you are going to sit there and complain about money when you're making quadruple what the average American family is making right now. Do you see what I'm saying? To sit there and say that you as online content creators cannot just stay home and do your job from home is ridiculous. We are blessed. Truly, we are truly, we are blessed to be able to have these jobs that we have right now. I am blessed to have this job right now during this time period, because if anybody should be advocating for staying home, social distancing, not going out, it's people that work on the internet. You literally don't have to leave your house. If you are so unentertaining that you could not possibly create good content without 20 other people surrounding you, maybe you're not really that entertaining to begin with. Maybe you should look for another career. I'm sorry. This has me so heated, and the thing that made it even worse for me, and the thing I didn't see a lot of people talking about because I don't think this manager is like a big person or whatever, but the manager in this article, there's a guy they talk to who manages a bunch of these kids, because they are kids. I know they're 18, but I really consider anyone that's like under 21, you're still kind of a kid. Like, you're still trying to figure your out. I'm 25 and I feel like I haven't gotten my life together. So like everyone's a child still. This manager who they talk to, who's representing a lot of these TikTok people, basically at one point there's a quote where he says, "Do I want them to go to the parties? No. But if they go, they better be filming it." What? The mayor of, I believe it's Hidden Hills is where they live. The mayor of where they live is literally threatening to come and shut off the water and the power of people who are throwing these parties because the situation is so out of control, because there are so many people not following guidelines and who are screwing it up for everybody else, that they're literally, your clients are being threatened to have their electricity and water turned off. And as a manager, you're like, well, you better get some good clickbait. Like, oh my God, my water got turned off, not clickbait. We were partying too hard and the power went out, not clickbait. Like, what kind of world are we living in where this is the type of quote that the New York Times is getting for this stuff? Like, what is, I just think at this point, and the point that I really want to hammer home about, and the reason I'm like really not letting go of this, is because for me, a lot of these people, the people that are watching them and idolizing them, they're kids, they're young kids. And I know it's like parents' responsibility to keep their kids inside. I understand all of that. But we're about to be facing a massive crisis with schooling where a lot of parents have no other choice than to leave their children home alone for the day and hope that they do online schooling because they have to go to work. That's where we're at. Like, that's the honest truth. So these kids are like, well, Tana Mojo's going to a party with her friends. She's hanging out with all of her friends without masks. Why do I have to go and wear a mask when I do these things? I'm not like picking on these TikTokers and these YouTubers because I'm like, oh, I want to jab at them. It's just, to me, I have always considered YouTube, and now in a sense TikTok, as a self-regulating platform. There aren't really any rules here except the community rules that we make for ourselves. So having bigger creators like Chris Clemens, Tyler Oakley, like having these bigger creators call out the people that are acting irresponsibly, holding them accountable, showing their child fan base, hey, what your fave is doing, it's actually not okay. Having them do that is crucial, maybe seeing some type of change. I do feel like the huge outrage that happened a couple of weeks ago actually worked. I feel like we had people legitimately apologizing. I've seen significantly less major influencers posting about partying. So it does work when you shine a light on things and hold people accountable. I think this opens it up to a much bigger conversation too, because it's like, where does this sense of entitlement come from? And I think a lot of it truly does come from the fact that a lot of these people who get really, really successful, really, really rich at such young ages, they don't have to go through the stereotypical workforce that a lot of people do have to go through. A lot of us had to work really crappy jobs. And in that sense, when you start to become a little bit more successful, you can appreciate that success a little bit more. I think that's pretty common. And that's not to say all of them don't like appreciate it or aren't thankful, but I do think there's a level of entitlement and disrespect when you're sitting there saying, well, just because it's a pandemic doesn't mean I shouldn't be allowed to make millions of dollars. And I think with that entitlement comes a level of, I don't care that there are people that are dying. I don't care that there are people who can't afford food. I don't care that we're on the cusp of a homelessness crisis. I don't care that our economy is circling the toilet bowl. Like, I don't care about any of that. I would like to be able to make my millions of dollars. And that's that. I don't really care if I'm, you know, making cases rise in my community. I don't care if me getting sick could potentially kill other people. Because that's the thing about this. It might not kill you. You might not even get symptoms from having COVID, but you could absolutely be killing other people. Like, doing that at this point, especially in places like California, Los Angeles, you are literally saying, like, I'm fine with killing other people. Just my opinion. For me, it's like, I read this article and it was just infuriating to see the level of justification when I know what I know about content creation. If anything, content creators have made more money during the pandemic than before because more people are at home watching our content, more people are spending more time on social media. Anything, you're in one of the only jobs right now that didn't get screwed by this pandemic, and you're still complaining. You still can't just follow the rules. You still can't just do the one thing that you're being asked to do, which is not throw parties. That's it for me, you guys. Let me know what you think about this whole situation down below. Are we being like too harsh on people? Are we not being harsh enough? Like, what do you guys think about this whole thing? And I don't know, I try to always think of like solutions. Again, I feel like the solution's always the same. It's like, just take note of who's doing this stuff. I know it's like all these TikTokers and everything, but just take notes. Like, note in your brain, like, hey, this is a person who literally didn't care during the pandemic. Maybe I shouldn't support them after this one. Accountability would be great. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just subscribe, or do neither. I'm honestly just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face will be linked down below, along with a link to register to vote. That's right. You can click on that link. You can register to vote, and you can be part of your democracy. It's super fun. Along with that will be my little social justice spotlight. There's important up-to-date info on COVID, just important social justice links, all of that fun stuff. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!